Bonjour. Today I'm going to talk to you about 3 different kinds of articles that are absolutely essential in French. So you've started learning French now. If you're watching this video, you're certainly a beginner. And one of the first things that we learn in French is that nouns have a gender. They're either masculine or feminine. And then one of the very next things that you learn is that most nouns have to be preceded by some kind of article. And what I mean by article is either a definite article, le, la, or les, which means the, or an indefinite article, un, une, or des, if it's plural. And so un and une mean a or an. And then you also have the partitive article, and that's always preceded by some form of de. And so the partitive article means a part of something. In other words, in English, we would say some or any. D'accord? So for the partitive articles, you have du, de la, des, and sometimes de, l apostrophe. So what I want to talk to you about today is, and really give you some examples, are these 3 different articles, and just also to remind you that they're really, really important in French, even though we don't have to use them many times in English. So before I carry on, I want to let you know that down in the video description, there's a link to my blog that you can follow if you want to see this lesson in written form. So voila, and the video is also over there on the blog. All right, so let's have a look first at how about a masculine singular noun. And I'm going to give you an example using this masculine singular noun with definite, indefinite, and partitive articles. All right, so let's use the noun gâteau. Gâteau, it means cake. Now, in English, if we say, I like cake, that's enough. We don't have to say, I like the cake. But in French, when you're talking about liking or not liking something, you always use the definite article. So to say, I like cake, j'aime le gâteau. Okay. Now, many times when we're talking about using the partitive article, we're going to be talking in terms of eating or drinking something. Not always, but that's kind of how we usually start out this lesson on partitives. So if we're still talking about the gâteau, right, remember it's masculine and it's singular. If I wanted to say, I am eating a cake, that would indicate that I'm eating the whole thing. I would say, je mange un gâteau. Je mange un gâteau. Okay, très bien, it might be a little cake. Maybe I am eating the whole thing. Je mange un gâteau. But what if I'm only eating part of a gâteau? Then I will say, je mange du gâteau. So du, du, is a contraction that's formed when you have de followed by le. You can't say, je mange de le gâteau, je mange du gâteau. So that's just one more thing that you have to remember in French. D'accord. So there's an example of a masculine and singular noun. Now, what if we have a feminine and singular noun? For example, since we're talking about cakes and good things like that, let's talk about pie. Tarte. If I want to say, I don't like the pie, or I don't like pie, je n'aime pas la tarte. D'accord? Or you can make it plural, je n'aime pas les tartes. Les tartes, L-E-S, I don't like pies. Okay, so that's the definite article. Remember, when we're talking about liking or disliking something, that's the article that we want to use. What if I want to say, I am eating a pie? Remember, again, this indicates that I'm eating the whole thing. So, je mange une tarte. I have to say une because tarte is feminine and not masculine. Je mange une tarte, but je mange un gâteau, which is masculine. If I am eating some of the pie, that's the partitive. Remember, some in English translates to the partitive in French. So once I'm not eating the whole thing and I'm just eating a part of it, I say, je mange de la tarte. De la is okay, you don't have to form a contraction like you do with de le. You can say de la. Donc, je mange de la tarte, I'm eating some pie. D'accord? Pardon. So now let's talk about a plural noun. The thing is, in French, it doesn't matter if you're talking about a masculine plural noun like gâteau or a feminine plural noun like tarte. you're going to use the same article in front of that. That's kind of easy. So what if you want to say, I like cakes? J'aime les gâteaux. I am eating some cakes. Je mange des gâteaux. D-E-S. Or, I like the pies. J'aime les tartes. I am eating some pies. Je mange des tartes. D-E-S. So D-E-S, whether they're masculine gâteau or feminine tarte. Okay? All right, so something else that we really have to talk about is how about if you have a noun that begins with a vowel? Because you know in French, French is a beautiful language, but the reason why it's so beautiful to listen to and sometimes difficult to speak is that they have all of these rules that are put into place to assure the beauty of the language, all right? So if you have, we've been talking about things that we eat. Now let's talk about something that we drink because we often talk about drinking using the partitive article as well. How about the word eau? Do you know what it is? Eau, E-A-U, is water. Okay, it begins with a vowel, obviously. So if I want to say I like water, and I do, j'aime l'eau. See, j'aime l'eau. I like water. L apostrophe E-A-U. J'aime l'eau. But I'm drinking some water. Remember, in English, I'm drinking water. In French, I'm drinking some water. If I want to say that, since O begins with a vowel, I use D-E-L apostrophe before it. Now, O is a feminine word, but you can't say je bois de la eau. La eau. See how it doesn't flow? It just doesn't sound right. So what we're going to say is je bois de l'eau. L apostrophe E-A-U. Je bois de l'eau. Ça va? Okay, so that's the partitive. I want to talk to you about a few more things that are pretty important when we're talking about the partitive. All of these sentences that I've given you are affirmative sentences. So we use the partitive. Je mange du gâteau, je mange de la tarte, je bois de l'eau. Très bien. But once I make them negative, there's another little rule that you have to remember. You're not going to use the partitive article after negation. Your partitive article after negation will just change to either DE if it's a noun, if it's coming before a noun that begins with a consonant, or it will change to D apostrophe if it's coming before a noun that begins with a vowel or a mute H. Remember, a lot of times the H is mute in French, so even though it doesn't act like a vowel, it's not pronounced. So we use a lot of the same vowel rules with the mute H. So how about the gâteau again? I said, je mange du gâteau. I eat some cake. With negation, je ne mange pas de gâteau. D-E. Je ne mange pas de gâteau is how it's going to sound when people speak. Everything kind of runs together. Je ne mange pas de gâteau. All right, what about the tarte? Je mange de la tarte. With negation, je ne mange pas de tarte. What about eau? D'accord? E-A-U, that's the water. Je bois de l'eau, but with negation, je ne bois pas d'eau. D apostrophe. Same is true if your noun is plural. Let's talk about les gâteaux, des gâteaux. Je mange des gâteaux. I eat some cakes. Je ne mange pas de gâteaux. So whether that gâteau is singular, G-A circumflex T-E-A-U, or whether it's plural with E-A-U-X on the end, you still just put D-E in front of it when you're following negation. So that's very important. All right, if you're still with me, I'm going to tell you one more thing that sometimes confuses people, but once you understand the rule, you can just start using it right away. It's not so complicated. It's when we're talking about quantities. So maybe you've learned, since you're a beginner, I'm not going to talk about anything too complicated, but maybe you have learned beaucoup. What does beaucoup mean? It means a lot. Okay, so it's obviously a quantity expression, and beaucoup is always followed with de, 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 never with des or du or de la. D'accord? It can be followed by d apostrophe. So if I say I eat a lot of cakes, je mange beaucoup de gâteaux. Even though gâteau is plural, it's de. Okay? Or je bois beaucoup d'eau. I drink a lot of water, d apostrophe e-a-u. Voilà, so we've talked about several things that are very important when talking about the partitive. Let me just look at my paper, make sure I didn't forget anything. No, I don't think I did. Remember, if you want to see all of this written down, and also, I can put a few exercises up for you on my blog. Maybe that will really help. Let me know if you have any questions, and maybe you can tell me what the last thing you ate and drank was. Because you could write that down in the comments, and that way we can all share using the partitive article together. Or how about things you like and don't like? Remember, if you are showing a preference, you're using a verb of preference, you need to be sure and use the definite article, le, la, or les. Voilà, I hope that this lesson helped you, and continue on with French. Merci beaucoup et à bientôt.